Hello, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about education and training. So namely, what are we able to do financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, and then also what are we willing to do? Because all this comes down to every job has education requirements, whether that means an apprenticeship, whether that means a bachelor's degree, whether that means a PhD. And it all comes down to, for each job, determining whether or not the job at the end is worth the time and effort that it's going to take to put in. And so to tell you a little bit about myself and kind of my orientation towards education is I grew up in an upper middle class family. I am white and I'm abled, which meant that I had pretty much a lot of access to education and I had a lot of expectations surrounding education and training. And so that's important to keep in mind. What did you learn about education? What kind of access did you have? And more importantly, what does that enable you to do now? Not everyone can finance a 4-year degree, but some people can. Are you able to take out loans? Is that something you're interested in doing? And it's very important to be very real with ourselves because, we've talked a lot about what do you like to do, what's important to you, but we also have to recognize that we're all in different places in our lives. And so, as I said, it comes down to, one, what are you able to do financially? What are you able to do emotionally? Are you in a position to get more training than you have now? The other piece is, what do you want to do? So, for example, to be a cosmetologist, to be a hairdresser, I would probably need another 18-ish months of training beyond what I have now. And it comes down to, am I able and willing to take out the loans to pay for it? And also, after 18 months, is that time investment, is that emotion investment going to be worth the job that I have? And if the answer is yes, then let's keep it on. And I actually think, at least for now, yes, that's true. And so I'm going to leave that on here. The other thing to keep in mind is all of these jobs that I've put down have job zones, so you can see them here, and they're also going to be here. And this is basically describing how much schooling this requires. So a 2 requires something like, probably requires a high school diploma and some training. A 4 probably requires a bachelor's degree, and a 5 would probably require postgraduate work. And so that's just an important context for this as well. However, it all comes down to, where are you coming from? So even though I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, I do not have the requirements. I do not have the training that I would need to be a cosmetologist, for example. On the other side, you've got something like OBGYN, which, let's see, right now, with a bachelor's in psychology, I would need at least another year to continue to prep for medical school, 4 years of medical school, and 3 years of residency before I was an actual OBGYN. That's 8 years. So first of all, we've got the financial piece. Could I take out the loans to go to medical school? The answer is probably. However, do I want to spend the next 8 years in school? Would being an OBGYN be fulfilling enough, be worth it to spend 8 years in school? And for me, looking at it, the answer is no. And this is the part of what being really real with ourselves requires, is saying, does everything I've learned about it, everything I've talked about, is that something that really drives me enough to be worth the education, the training that it would take? And so, no is fine. It's all right to say, this is not for me. And at this point, that's what we're going to start trying to do. Kind of similarly, a sociologist right now would require me to at least take at least 1 more year of sociology courses, because I don't have those right now, plus another 6 to 7 years of a PhD. And does sociology really grab me so much that that's something that would be worth it? At least for now, no. And it's important to be honest with ourselves about that. The other thing to keep in mind is that what is your learning style and what might fit best in terms of education? So for example, do you like school? Do you like school? Do you like learning in a lecture format? Or are you better with your hands? Is that something that you really enjoy, like kind of getting into it? Is something, 4 years of college isn't the best place for everybody. Sometimes it's got to be an element of, what do you enjoy doing? Is an apprenticeship a better fit for you? What kind of program is going to be best suited to your interests and your abilities? And again, that's all about being real with ourselves. So keeping that in mind, that's how we're kind of going to start narrowing even more our occupation roster according to education and training.